What if there was a show about traveling to parallel worlds, the same year, the same Earth, only different dimensions? A world where the Russians ruled America, or where your dreams of being a superstar came true, or where San Francisco was a maximum security prison. We started a podcast talking about it, inviting some friends to join us. Now we hope you all come along for the ride.
Everybody, welcome to Fandom Entanglement, and we are talking about Sliders Season 2. This is actually the last episode that they aired, but it is really the 6th episode in production order. It is As Time Goes By, and this is a very weird, interesting episode to talk about. I am Damon Sugamelli, and this is my co-host, Mike Bloxam.
Hello, everyone.
And returning with us is our good friend Dennis Freimeyer. Hey,
hello,
Dennis.
Everybody. Hey, Damon,
Hey,
Mike,
hey.
Devin. Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. And joining us from the land down under. My
That was
sister.
terrible.
It is terrible. Thanks, sis. This is my sister, Devin Sugamelli. Hey, Devin.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Devin.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Well, I mean, Dennis has been on before. I don't know if you want to say much about what you've said it before. Dad to the Future. I mean,
Sure. Yeah, it's a platform
Mm-hmm.
that defies niche. Right now, I'm just telling like bad extended versions of dad jokes. Just trying to stay afloat in this world that is America in 2025. So right now, just trying to keep it fun, trying to keep it light on there. Find me on the socials, or just go to dadtothefuture.com, and that'll give you my links where you can come find me there. But yeah.
And Devin, I don't know how comfortable you are with how much you want to share about your life or.
Sure. I mean, I'm just a corporate working stiff who doesn't get to do anything creative usually. So this was a really fun opportunity to come back to something I loved in my youth that I connected with you, my brother, over.
Yeah.
I'm excited to give some thoughts on As Time Goes By.
Yeah. I was trying to remember, like, when did we start watching it together? I don't, because you were when this came
it was
out.
live.
No,
but I would have been like 10.
You were a 10, yeah. So
yeah.
I remember we watched it on the Sci-Fi channel.
Yes.
But did we really watch it together before that? Or I don't remember.
No, wasn't it originally on Fox?
It was on Fox, and I'm
I
trying to remember
being on Fox.
If we had kind of watched it together, or I got you into. I don't remember, but
no, we watched it together.
Yeah. I definitely remember like season 4, and then it was like season 5 came along, and I hadn't told you like what was going on. You're like, wait. They're not in this anymore, or what? Like,
yeah. No, I remember the first few seasons more than anything else, so I remember watching it back then.
Yeah. Well, this is a fun one to talk about, and I've been asking. I didn't ask you, Dennis, because we did this after the last time, but we're going to do our best sliders whispers for everybody who comes on. So
sure, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, now just
yeah. Go,
okay.
Now, yeah. Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Here we go. Sliders.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
That was a pretty good one. That was good. Tough one to follow.
Right. Okay, Devin.
I don't think I'm going to be as good. All right. Sliders.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
No, Dennis got it. You don't have to be polite.
All right.
I don't do this professionally. I'm not insulted.
Oh, and I can cut this out if you want to, Devin, but I also was going to bring this up. Congratulations on becoming you are now a dual citizen of the United States and Australia.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Very nice.
So when they come for all of us and try to deport all of us in this new regime, like, you have nothing to worry about because you have a place to call home. We all...
Still, I'm not very happy about it.
I know. But I wanted to put that out there. So anyway, congratulations.
Mike too. He's in Canada. Are you not a Canadian citizen?
That's true. Yeah, but
okay.
But that's.
But it's Canada, as we talk about in this episode, right?
Right,
like...
and that's if they don't make Canada. That's if they don't make Canada the 51st state somehow in some weird reality. I don't know.
Don't worry, Mike. We'll come to protect you. We're all still part of the Commonwealth.
Well, we've said it before.
Excellent.
We've said it before. I kind of wouldn't mind. Invade us. What did Jan say it once? Annex us or something, please?
Yeah.
All right. Let's just get into it. All right. This originally aired July 12th, 1996, and the synopsis from the DVDs is: the Sliders find themselves running into the same people on each new world, one of them being Quinn's former love, Daelin. After encounters on worlds where the Spanish rule America and Daelin is an abused wife, the Sliders arrive on a world where time moves backwards, and they are accused of Daelin's murder. Quinn wants to save her, but it could have disastrous results. I believe it does. Or it's debatable. Our usual cast: Jerry O'Connell as Quinn, Sabrina Lloyd as Wade, Clement Derricks as Rembrandt, and John Rhys Davies as Arturo. And I guess I'll let you do the guest cast, Mike, because you always have a lot of things to add. I think that's your thing now.
Say that, but this time I only found two that were had a lot of interest. The main guest star being Brooke Langton as Daelin Richards. The interesting thing I found about her was she played Angela Bennett on the TV adaptation of the movie The Net, which was a Sandra Bullock film, which I have a friend who has watched the movie 8.5 times or something like that. That was back in the late 90s. So I watched it a couple times with her, and so I remember the film well. But I just found it interesting that she picked up that baton and did the TV series. But there have been a lot of other Sliders guest stars who have had guest spots on the TV series The Net. But so there was also some show called Melrose Place. She was in 68 episodes of that. I never watched it, but I was aware of it, of course.
Me neither. I'm glad you added that, because I forgot. I was like, that's the one thing I think I remembered her face from, was seeing her. Because that was at the same time.
Probably what she's most famous for, I'd imagine.
That's who she is, and I never saw a single episode of it. So.
Yep.
Did you, Devin? I don't know. No, you were too young, right? No.
I wouldn't have been watching Melrose.
90210 and all that stuff. Yeah.
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 Our other guest star was Matthew Flint, who played Dennis McMillan, and there was a long list of stars, but the two we picked out were Charlie O'Connell plays Kit Richards, and of course Charlie being Jerry's real life brother and eventual cast member of Sliders. Yep. And the other star I picked out was DJ Jackson, who plays the bailiff. He surprisingly has 165 credits on IMDb, but the vast majority of them being a security guard or a taxi driver or police officer. But the one thing he did have was a recurring role as a character called Cobb Brandon on Superman and Lois, which ran from 2021 to 2024. So
the new one. Okay.
He finally landed something that that was more than one episode. I haven't seen that show, but
I have not seen it either. I'm not caught up on the Arrowverse stuff or any of that stuff either. I should be, but yeah. All right, and this was written by
shorter one this week.
Oh yeah. So this was written by Steve Brown, directed by Richard Compton, and we've seen that name pop up a few times. We're on basically the three main worlds are Nueva España, Lions World. I think it's mainly because it's the Lions instead of the 49ers.
Yeah.
And Reverse World, which is like our main one. And then at the end, it's like EarthPrime.com arbitrarily calls it Phone Booth World. It's just a world where whatever. All right. Okay, so who wants to? Well, I mean, Devin, since you're the new one, if you want to just what your first impressions of the episode were.
Sure.
Yeah.
I thought there were two really interesting like what if concepts in there, which is what I always liked about Sliders. I was personally more interested in Nueva España because I feel like it was one that you could believe because yeah, you could see a world where slight changes in history and things that occurred could lead to, you know, just a different outcome for the modern day US. But yeah, even the time travel concept I also thought was interesting. I mean, there's always execution issues, particularly when you put all of these things together and don't spend a lot of time on either. But overall, I liked it.
Okay, Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, a lot of similar thoughts. I loved this episode when I was a kid. Like I had it like taped on VHS. I watched it repeatedly over and over again. That said, there were parts that I missed. I thought almost all of this episode took place in Reverse World. And no, that is not the case. I misremembered some stuff. But yeah, Devin, like you said, I feel like a lot of this stuff in the 90s was like great premise, not perfectly executed, especially when it's sci-fi and you're mashing up ideas. But yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about in this one. I think this episode is another good reason why they need to establish a prime directive for sliding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would also like to file a formal complaint anytime a dentist pops up in a movie or a TV show. He is almost always a jerk, and they make my life harder. That's where I'm at.
All right. I'll just say, I mean, I did love the idea behind this when I first saw it almost 30 years ago, and that's really aging myself when I say that. 30 years. And at the time, I did think, because I thought, I didn't know anything about the production order and all this other stuff, and I was like, this is last. This is after Invasion, so I guess this is the season finale, but it's not really the season finale. But I still find that the aspect of the time moving backwards, it's fascinating. But I do wonder in hindsight why we needed everything else. But probably because it's difficult to devote a whole 45 minutes to this concept because it's so, you know, kind of out there, hard to follow. And some of the plot doesn't quite feel as connected as it could be. Because I, like I said, I liked it in the beginning, and it's like, it does have some issues. So, Mike.
Yeah, I feel like we're all sort of on the same page here. I get why they connected the three storylines through Daelin being Quinn's former partner or girlfriend, whatever. It just felt like two very interesting ideas in the first and third worlds, with a second world thrown in as a vignette to connect them. It would have been really nice to have, I think, an entire episode in Nueva España and then another entire episode in the reverse time world to really dig in and especially on the reverse time world to get to those mechanics of Time Zero that Arturo just kind of throws out there and says Stephen Hawking was right. Time can go either way, but I spent a lot of my time in that last half of the episode confused, and I felt like Remy was saying everything I was thinking because he kind of acts like the audience's voice, which I think he's done before when there's been kind of confusing aspects. To be like, yeah, I don't get what's going on, but let's just move on with the show.
Yeah. All right. I have it pulled up on Earth Prime because I didn't get to put these in the notes. I have a little bit of the what they say is the backstory for the different worlds. I had it here. I didn't have time to write it in. Shoot. All right. Forget about it.
All I want to know is like when it happened and how much of the modern U.S. is included, because like it's very believable to think that California and like the Western U.S. for sure, but like did the 13 colonies never happen with the British on the Eastern Seaboard? Like that.
Right.
That's what I mainly wanted to understand. I just wanted
Right.
to know more.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So here I got it on earthprime.com. It says, in Nueva España, the Spanish have taken over Northern California and have instituted their own government over the American ones somewhere along the timeline. La Migra are the equivalent of immigration police, and Canadians are considered illegal immigrants with the derogatory slang furbacks leveled upon them. It's because apparently they lie in poverty, so everybody has to. I guess it's like the parallel. What's supposed to be like if you lived in Mexico or something like that.
But like Northern California is so specific.
Yeah.
They're only getting migrants from Vancouver, like not from anyway. It feels like a universe where California is just one thing.
Right. And it said that I didn't notice any of this. That the flags hanging in the courtroom, the stars and stripes are green and white with a circle of 13 stars in red, indicating that there are only 13 regions in this country. And on this world, the Anglos lost the New World to Spain. I think it dates back to when.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I think it dates back to I guess when Christopher Columbus came, maybe, and they never claimed it. Yeah. Lions World, it says it's very similar to Earth Prime's history, with the exception that the Detroit Lions are now playing in San Francisco. So, and then it's interesting to wonder what happened to the 49ers. And also, it's like reversed that instead of Daelin is the one that moved away, Quinn is the one that moved away. And then Reverse World is pretty self-explanatory. It's just everything working in reverse. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Easy, Mike. What do you not understand about that?
Yeah. No, I don't know if there's any real. We didn't see anything that like would indicate the history is vastly different. So it's probably just that it moves in the opposite direction. I don't know. But all right, so the cold open starts in Nueva. They call it República de Nueva España. We see that in the subtitle there. They're working as day laborers on a street corner. Arturo's like, we've hit an all-time low. I like that line that he says that Mark Twain once remarked that the coldest winter he ever spent was a summer in San Francisco.
Yeah.
It is funny. Rembrandt is talking about how he hates being an illegal immigrant in a country that used to be his own. Oh, and then Devin, you had some remarks here that you said.
Oh, yeah, just like I think everyone made the same comment about Arturo being a dick. And like the only reason I could think of to explain it was that I do remember the 90s being a time when Canada was just the butt of a lot of jokes for some reason, maybe because of the whole socialized healthcare thing. We have to make this sound really scary, so we're just going to make Canadians sound dumb. But like, that's the only thing I could think of for all the like putting down of Canada and Canadians.
Yeah,
I mean, he just comes across as a jerk, and like after like I put my notes in there, like if you go by air date order, it might make sense because this is not our Arturo. It's the other Arturo, and it's like, oh, maybe John Rhys Davis was playing it that way, but if you go by production date order, that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. Yeah, it was meant to be aired like in the middle of the season, and then they held it back because Fox literally did not understand the episode at all.
Sure, so burn it off in the middle of the it off in the middle of the summer when no one's watching.
Yeah.
No, I'm curious. I don't know. Damon or Mike, if you know, at this point, did they definitely know that season 3 was being picked up? Because season 3 was the first full season that actually started in the fall.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they knew toward the end. I don't know if they knew when this was shot, though. I don't know, because
Right.
I know seasons 1
Sure.
and 2 are kind of lumped together. Like it was just like on hiatus, and then they did like the rest of them. So I'm not entirely sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hmm. I kind of felt like Arturo being a jerk to Dennis here encourages Dennis to betray them later, because he approaches them just kind of saying, "Oh, it's kind of nippy out here, eh? Reminds you of Vancouver." But I'm not sure what accent he was going for. It certainly wasn't a Canadian accent, but it sounded vaguely British. I don't know if that's the actor or this Dennis guy was trying to be sound more friendly, but then Arturo says, "I am not your sibling, sir, for which I thank God and good breeding," which is really mean.
So rude.
Out of nowhere. But then you see his face, and I think that kind of foreshadows his eventual betrayal. I don't know if he set out to betray these people, but once he was like, "Wow, you're an asshole. Why should I try to save you? I'm going to save my own skin." That Arturo may have sealed their fate here.
Yeah. Yeah, and then immigration called them the furbacks, which was
Which I found funny, and maybe it's because I actually haven't heard the proper slur in a while. Like I had to actually think about it and realize, oh right, there's that slur, which I won't say for obvious reasons. But like all I could think of was like, because they wear furs because it's cold in Vancouver. Like, was that as far as the thought went?
Yeah.
Like, what an
Vancouver's
insult. You come
one
from
of the
a cold
warmer
place.
places in Canada, so I don't.
And
being by the ocean, they don't have as cold winters, but
that's right. They don't get that much snow even.
no.
And Devin, you pointed out there was an editing goof apparently, which I did not catch.
I caught it immediately. I forget why. I think I paused it to actually hear something someone said, and then right when I paused it, the zoom out was on like Vancouver ice and I wrote it down. What was it? But
ice and cold storage.
Yeah, like it. And then I looked it up and I saw that they shot a lot of things in Vancouver, so it makes sense. They just didn't pick a location that didn't outright say Vancouver on it.
I want to say that I think a lot of it was almost like a shot at the production, because it was like everything was happening in Vancouver, and something like it was like almost like an inside joke. I feel like with Sliders especially.
Maybe.
So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was intentional, because I had that thought. I was like, particularly given they're talking about Vancouver here, it's weird that they would make that goof.
Yeah.
On a similar note on the filming, when Quinn's in the back alley after being chased by the immigration police, there were 2 garbage cans that have 800 Kiefer written on them, which is a street just east of Gastown where they normally film the downtown scenes. So, obviously quite set in Vancouver, but
yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's a TV show. No one's gonna watch this ever in 30 years and pick it apart. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Right.
It's standard definition television. They're gonna hardly be able to read it. Don't worry. Yeah. No
one's gonna care. Quinn got shot. Let's not even worry about resolving that. Yeah.
I forgot he got shot.
And they didn't want to resolve that. It was like
so inconsequential.
I know. It's literally they were like, who's gonna care? It was almost a year. Like, yeah, we care.
It was rubber bullets. It's fine.
Yeah, I know.
Side note: him climbing over the wall. I wish I'd watched it again right before this, but I just remember watching it and laughing at how like conveniently it was cut. It's like he didn't try to do any of his own stunt work there. That was just well, he's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's almost attacked by the Nitro and Cajun are the names of the dogs. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Nitro, like it's like okay.
Spanish names, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Cajun did reference to the French, Louisiana French, like
probably.
Maybe.
I guess so.
Like again, did the French have like I want to know about Nueva España. I want to know what happened.
Yes.
But
a whole half-season arc based in Nueva España.
Yes.
Yeah.
just running to different rich people's estates for help. That's where I would go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where he meets Daelin, and he passes out, and she's like, "How do you know me?" And we get that whole story about how she left in 10th grade and it broke his heart. And then they're talking about when because he says, "Who's this?" It's Dennis. Oh, we were all like, they were talking about deporting him. They're going to send him back to Canada, and it's just like we kind of brought it up beforehand about how it's like are they tapping into what's going on in the world right now, like in this era? It's getting kind of creepy how Sliders keeps like kind of touching on stuff that's going on right now. But Wade was getting on my nerves again because when they're in the courtroom, she just always acts like that's it, like these are the laws. It's like she always like is in shock that things are not working the way she thinks that they should work, and it just it just kind of annoys me sometimes. It's like she just seems to think that the rules that she's accustomed to should automatically apply, but they're on a different world. So don't you realize this by now?
I was curious though why the three of them were being tried together. Like they were arrested in one big group. I don't know, unless they all pretended they were family, then somehow all got the same lawyer, because otherwise it doesn't make sense that all three of them are sitting before the judge at the same time. You think they would do each person?
Wouldn't it be like separate? Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Well, it's we don't know the laws of this world. So.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like Reverse World at the end. The three guys all show up in the same jail cell there after their conviction. So the world's weird.
And is this the same courtroom that we see again later in the episode from The King Is Back?
Where was
it? Looks like the same.
At the beginning.
Well,
probably is.
Quinn was on trial. Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't until I watched it the second time I thought this is a very familiar courtroom, and then I realized it was Quinn was on trial for something his double had done, and then they slide out.
Right.
In the courtroom, and then when they slide back in, they land in the same courtroom.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It was a 90s sci-fi series. I don't think they had enough budget to have separate courtroom sets, so very likely the same.
Yeah.
Well,
it was just probably filmed a year apart, so I wonder if there's another show that it was.
I was going to say, is there another courtroom drama on Fox? They were like, "Hey, can we borrow your set for?"
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely recognizing in that. I recognize the field that they're in. That's I think we see that in Invasion when they first arrive after escaping from the Cro-Mags. It's that open field because it's at night. I recognize that's what I recognize. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but it's like toward the end of the episode when I think after, like at the end, I recognize that. Yeah, but anyway, so Devin, you have more to add on that with the...
Yeah, I similarly, I was annoyed at Wade's reactions, and everyone's though, because it just didn't feel like how they'd react given their sliders, and like the focus should have been getting back with Quinn and the timer, right? Because ultimately that's your way to get home, but they were really fixated on like, I don't want to go to Canada. And it just seemed really weird and whiny, and it felt like the writers were kind of trying to force us to imagine how bad Canada must be, and I'm like, I don't know anything about this Canada except you've told me that they're poor and it's cold, but the sliders certainly don't know anything about this Canada, right? Like if Wade is feeling like it's Canada back home, why are you so worried about Canada? Oh, and then when we go back to Daelin I'm just saying the mistress would not be speaking to her staff in English. Like that's not what you would see, right? Like if assuming Spanish is the dominant language, like why wouldn't they be speaking in Spanish to Daelin? But look, like it's the 90s. No one was ever going to subtitle that exchange. So it's fine. It just threw me because
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've been watching a lot of Star Trek lately. I just kind of run that through my universal translator of
Yeah, fair.
they're
Right.
talking in Spanish, but they're just
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But I think because
Daelin
in this
throws
show
in-
there is random Spanish inserted to sort of
Sure.
like world build, that then
Yeah.
it really stood out to me that someone who
Sure.
you'd expect to be speaking Spanish wasn't.
would be
Yeah, because he even said it in the courtroom.
Similarly in
like,
the courtroom.
Yeah. Like for the sake of our
The
client,
lawyer
can you
was
speak
speaking
in
English.
please? I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was speaking English before that, so except she called
Right.
the judge Juez in Spanish. So
Yeah.
Although I do think it would have been funny if they had the courtroom scene where the lawyer and the judge just spoke in Spanish and they didn't subtitle it.
yeah,
And so you
that would
just
have
had
been a nice touch. Yep.
and so you just had the sliders go like
Totally.
what, and they don't understand anything until they hear they're being deported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we
But-
would have been right there with them. Like, what did they say?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and when Quinn is talking to Daelin about that line just kind of hits me when he's talking about California being part of the United States, the most powerful country in the world, and it just hits a different nerve with me now because there are certain people that have taken this to heart and are trying to use that as an excuse to, or at least try to bully the rest of the world into submission. So it hit me a little weird this time hearing that.
It's also just a really weird representation of the plight of immigrants trying to go to a new country, right? Like, we could have, it could have been a moment where we could feel more sympathetic towards Daelin and hear about like why they want to go to Nueva España so much, but instead she just gets all starry-eyed and talks about the Anglos being in power, and that like that particularly was really jarring for me because I never would have, as a very pale, noticeably person, like I never have thought of U.S. as like the country of the Anglos. So to almost see Sliders present it like it is now in the night, like it was weird. It was cringy.
Yeah. And then this is when we're introduced to her brother. This first time we're seeing Charlie O'Connell in the series as Jerry's. Daelin's brother, Kit. And then we do there's that weird brotherly handshake thing. And Quinn is like, "What is this?" Like that little like fist pump thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What are they doing?" And then he's like, "No sweat, homie." Like, what? It was just I don't know. It was a weird little exchange.
Yeah.
Also, La Raza Blanca again, just like the whole thing is like we're white. It's weird. And why is your group name in Spanish if your whole thing is being like
Anti.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't get it.
Speaking of Charlie O'Connell, as soon as he turned around, in my mind, I went, "Colin?"
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think he shows
I
up
didn't realize
again.
he had guest roles before he came on the show.
I forgot, yeah.
Oh yeah, Jerry was trying to get his brother on like every chance he got. I think he shows up again in season 3 in an episode I really don't want to talk about, but we'll get there pretty soon.
Sure.
You know,
We'll talk about it someday, just not today.
Yeah. Dragons. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that episode. Yeah, and then Wade's line about, I don't want, like we said that I want to spend the rest of my life in Canada, and that's well, we had it later on as one of the lines, like, but like I love Rembrandt. It's like, you think I do? It's wet, it's cold. My records didn't still spit there, and all they ever listen to is Anne Murray and Gordon Lightfoot.
Yes.
Is that true, Mike?
No, I do love me some Gordon Lightfoot, but
I will say, as a country music fan, I will not stand for the Anne Murray slander. Because she had some certified bangers back in the 80s. I'm just saying.
yeah.
Oh yeah, and then the estupidos, like that was.
That's my favorite line. You cannot escape estupidos. It's so tame. It's so tame
know.
coming from a like ruthlessly authoritarian immigration officer chasing you down.
I know.
And then, of course, the end of Quinn pleading, Daelin, come with us. Like, what? Her brother just died, and like, what is your plan here?
Yeah.
Is dying?
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what is she gonna do when she slides
Yeah.
into a world?
Sure.
You don't know what's next. You've
Well-
landed with dinosaurs and shit. Like,
Yeah.
where are you taking her?
Well,
I
like
know.
even before this and like their nighttime scene the night before, like Quinn is obviously hitting on her, and she has said she is engaged to Dennis, and it's
he's
just like,
like,
dude.
Yeah, and then he says something like, "Well, what about him?" It's like, "Well, I want to take him with," and you see he's like thinking about it, like, all right, I guess we gotta take him too.
Oh, good.
Like,
I guess we'll just get him
Yeah.
killed on the next world. All right,
But
play the long game here.
I know, but I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, we've done this 3 times already, at least with people from other worlds, and then they conveniently disappear, and they're never heard from or mentioned ever again. So what? I don't know why this would be any different.
For sure, but also we had like Quinn is like at most what 25.
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah. It's
Mhm.
fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, and second act is now we get to what they call Lion's World. That's the second world we visit, and that's we were immediately clued in because Wade sees the park bench that says it's the San Francisco Lions instead of the 49ers, and well, I don't know how long they were on that first world, but Quinn says they're here for a little over 7 hours. How long do you think they were on that first world for? It seemed like they were there for a while. They didn't say.
Perhaps they just said they had one day at the time they were
1 day left.
looking for work
there.
there.
Or something, just one more day. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously had to be there long enough to try to find work. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering if having them the Lions. I mean, your Earth Prime says maybe the Detroit Lions moved there, but I wondered if it was a nod to the CFL, which is the Canadian Football League, because the BC Lions play in Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if it's another inside joke here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then, I guess, Quinn looks mopey, and Rembrandt says he'll go with him. He says, "Professor, you stay here. I'll go." But they're go to the Lamplighter pub, and I'm pretty sure that's the same bartender from Time Again in World who's giving them the drinks.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. I don't think she's credited in the episode.
So I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, she had a mustache the first time we saw her, and not the second time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when they're chatting, you can also hear the VLT noises in the background that the old man was playing. In Time Again in World. So,
okay.
There's some interesting tie-ins to earlier episodes in this particular vignette, as I called it. But I noticed Quinn said that he and Daelin dated for a couple of years in high school, but they parted ways in, as they say, the 10th grade. So does high school not start in grade 9 in the U.S.?
No, it does.
Yeah. So wouldn't
I mean,
the
like,
couple of
grade
years they were
9.
dating be those first 2 years of high school?
Yeah.
And
So
he says that as if
end
as
of
if they
grade
never
10, she
separated.
moves away,
Sure.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to say a couple of years, it just seems weird. I don't know.
I
It
see
just
what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, I feel like I was like a year ahead, but I feel like it was, I was like 13 when I started high school. So isn't it usually like 14 and then you turn 18 basically? Like that's the average. So
Yeah, it just depends on
it just depends on
when in the year you're born.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't think that was weird. I thought 9th and 10th grade, sure.
Maybe it was just me.
Oh yeah.
I just thought the way he said it for a couple years to me implies.
Sure.
Mm.
I get it. Couple means 2, but
right. Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch.
I
that,
digress.
Sure.
No, that's okay.
And were they dating, or did Quinn think they were dating?
Oh.
Yeah.
Good question.
Just.
That's a good question. On this world, it happened in reverse, where Quinn is the one that left in 10th grade and broke her heart, so she remembers him very well, but now she's married to Dennis, and then she has that infant daughter, named Julie, and like I guess he did not pay any attention. Were there no toys or anything around the house when he first walked in? And he's like, "Wait, who's Julie?" I guess there was just nothing there to indicate that there was a baby there.
Yeah, that was a bit odd. Yeah.
That was odd.
It's kind of acting like he's very oblivious to everything else, because he's just it's the puppy love thing. He's just so enamored with her.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say a side note too. It doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but Mata was watching this with me, and she's like, she doesn't know if she can trust anyone with teeth that are that white. She has this big smile on her face.
Referring to Daelin.
Referring to Daelin. Slash the actors, yeah.
Well, she was a model, so
she was.
Yeah. But yeah, Dennis was a real, like, not our Dennis, obviously. Like you said before, like
sure, yeah. Yep, exactly.
Everybody named Dennis on TV has to be a real, like, a-hole, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Dennis in particular was just like the worst archetype of an abusive partner, to a point that was a very convenient portrayal of an abusive relationship with no nuance, which you always I always hate seeing, because it really it just made the power dynamic super weird, with Quinn 2 times in a row, like, trying to swoop in and save a helpless Daelin who has no authority in her life and is just kind of in these terrible situations to be rescued from.
Yeah. You said it perfectly, Devin. I saw it in the notes. It's like, I remember I was watching it. I could not place what it was that felt off, and that's it right there.
Well, I mean, it's just the fact, like, for this vignette to work, Dennis just has to give up and say, if you want her, take her.
Right.
Yeah.
Which also does not typically happen in an actual abusive relationship.
For sure. Or if it does, he's going to come pay Daelin and alternate Quinn a visit at some point in the future after he sobers up. Yeah.
Amata very quickly pointed out that if that had happened to her, this guy'd be dead. He would be dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's not happening. I really wanted to kick him in the nuts too. That was like, he deserved it. And then that Superman punch that he boom, like that was some punch.
Well, that was good. I like the fake out. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't want to fight." Just turns around and clocks him. It was, It's pretty good. But yeah, you're right. Like this, he's a very two-dimensional cliche of a wife beater. And it's weird how he just gives up. You were saying though, no indication of a baby. The one weird thing was there was a bassinet sitting in that hallway where they were having the fight.
Right.
But the baby was upstairs somewhere. So I.
Yeah, you think there'd be more around the house, but.
Yeah, but I didn't notice it either originally. But there's nothing else in the house indicating there's a baby living there.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah. Oh, what else?
Also, am I misremembering? Didn't the baby start crying before she mentioned Julie? And they were still like, "Who's Julie?" Am I forgetting? No.
I don't know. It was hard.
She said, "Don't wake up Julie. She's sleeping." And then he says some jerk-ass comment about, "Well, she's not going anywhere. Who cares?"
Starts playing this music,
and I think that's when Quinn says, "Who's Julie?" And then Dennis goes upstairs and like turns on his rock music or something and wakes up the baby, and that's when she starts crying.
Yeah.
Still very oblivious of Quinn. Like, you could really put that context together quite easily.
You would think. Yeah.
Don't wake my 22-year-old friend Julie. She's sleeping from our night out. Like...
What else did you have to add here, Dennis, about that?
No, because like Quinn had it in his mind, like maybe take Daelin off of this world, especially that he sees that she's in a bad way. And then as soon as he hears that it's a baby, he's like, "Oh,
yeah,
that's so true."
Could you leave the baby with Dennis? No, and it's just like,
no.
Can't take the baby with us.
Yeah, but the one like sweet little touch I did appreciate about this vignette is just like he very matter of factly gets a hold of this alternate universe Quinn, and we don't even see the other Quinn on the other end of the line, and I kind of appreciated that that little touch.
Mhm.
Has anybody seen or read The Time Traveler's Wife?
I've heard of it. I never actually
Watch the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic book. The movie has some things. There was an attempt at a TV series that didn't work, but like the nature, like this guy, like he jumps back and forth through time, and like it starts from he's a little kid. So there are frequent times throughout the book where an older or younger version has to get a hold of himself in whatever time period that he's in,
Right.
because he materializes when he always materializes naked and cold and on the run.
Right.
So it kind of reminded me of that shades of like, yeah, this is the life that we live and whatever. And I kind of like this idea of like the other Quinn just getting a hold of the other Quinn, like, oh hey,
Mm-hmm.
I slide between parallel worlds. I'm another you. Now apparently he didn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he came up with something else.
Yeah.
But I did like that little touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're saying that you like the idea of him these other Quinns being frequently contacted by other
for
slider
sure.
Quinns.
I would love to see an episode that's just centered on a normal Quinn who hasn't traveled,
Right.
and he's just like, yeah, like he's smart, he's a scientist or whatever, but then like these alternate Quinns just keep showing up with these weird stories.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be fun. At least a fun fan fiction story. But yeah.
Yeah. And then Devin, you had the thing about Rembrandt.
Yeah, like I mean, even starting from back when he first encourages him to call her, I did like I mean, Rembrandt is the heart of the group, right? But I always like those moments. I like them because like Rembrandt's a guy, and I feel like it was rare in the 90s to see examples of like emotionally intelligent masculinity, and I think Rembrandt was actually that in a lot of the show, and in this episode in particular.
Yeah. I think I think even in Into the Mystic, they pretty much called him like the heart of the group. That tracks. So this is where things get really trippy, because then everything starts moving backwards as they're going through that tunnel, and all of a sudden they're in San Quentin with different clothes, and the timer is counting up instead of down. And they're meeting all the same people. They're meeting that same lawyer, and then they're getting arraigned before the judge. But the arraignment is happening after, like they were talking about how everything is like sort of happening in reverse, and it's like the same it's the same judge too, and they go in the courtroom.
Yeah, their lawyer, I forgot her first name, but Sanchez was her last name.
Mm-hmm.
She says Judge Ginsburg is the chief of the Supreme Court, and she had denied their appeal. But I wondered if that was a reference to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was a judge on the Supreme Court from 93 to 2020. Just in this alternate world, or reverse world, I guess. But yeah, and then after that, when they get back to the courtroom, that first scene that we see, they kind of pan across the judge's desk, and there are like at least 8 clocks sitting on the desk, and I don't know why who thought that was a good idea, and only one of them was in reverse. The others were normal clocks from our world. So yeah. I had to pause it and look, but one of them was a reverse clock, and the others were all regular. But
okay, that's weird.
But I don't know why they're all sitting on at the front. It's a weird what's the word I'm looking for? It's a weird choice for the
like a directorial
props.
choice or something.
It's a weird prop choice. That's what I'm going for.
They really want you to know this part of the episode is about time.
I guess so.
Yes.
Show don't tell, I guess.
I mean, Quinn and they basically look at that clock, and that's when they figure it out. And Quinn and even Arturo's like, "Time's arrow," and suddenly they're like, "We plead guilty," and Remy's like, "Oh, sure, why not? Let's all just plead guilty."
Sure, what?
Yeah, sure. Let's just go with it. Devin, you said it too. You think this is
like at least partially it's got to be an homage to Quantum Leap, right? Like, because the whole time I was also because we never figure out, do they have doubles on this world, and were they actually involved in this? Like, that's never made clear the whole time. So originally I thought, because it was very interesting that they leapt into jail cells, like right away from there, leaping into different clothes and different cells. It's very different than any other slide. That's what immediately tipped me off to Quantum Leap, because it felt like they're taking someone's place.
Okay, that I didn't quite catch, but yeah, I mean, I think you're right.
Sure.
I mean, it's basically time travel without being time travel. It's
Sure.
Yeah, I'll just bring it up here because it is on EarthPrime.com where it said it. It brings up an interesting question. So Reverse World has time moving backwards. So that means that the end of the universe on this world was at the same time the universe began on Earth Prime. So unless the exact moment the slider slid into Reverse World was the exact median of the life of the universe, wouldn't the sliders land in a world that either didn't exist, like the sun's going nova in a few million years, or is this some super elevated futuristic society? So like, where are we in the future, and how are we going to experience like 65 billion years more, like, or whatever it is? Like, how does this work? How are we right in the middle? It's an interesting idea.
I had the exact same thought. Like, the whole times arrow thing made zero sense to me in this episode, and their discontinuities, that's the term they keep using. Somehow we're supposed to make things make sense, but Quinn tries to dumb it down. The record skipped. We just jumped back in time. Like, what? Like, I don't understand how, if these people are moving backward in time and you're moving the opposite direction, there should be no interaction.
The only way I can justify it is that they are experiencing this crisscross as much as their mind can comprehend it.
Yeah. I felt the same. I actually didn't mind the skipping record analogy. I thought that was a helpful one for the audience, because like, same as Dennis, it's like, well, obviously we can't move backward. Like, we wouldn't know how to do that, and they can't move backward. So it's just how they can comprehend what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I'm skipping ahead here too. It's that's what me, like, even me, this is like I love time travel stuff and all these time things, but this is even hard for me to grasp a little bit, because it's like, I feel like it does have to be continuous, and then it's like it's like a rubber band that just like snaps them back, and so that they jump backward. So there has to be some moments where they're all in sync with each other just to make it work. And I mean, I guess if they had more time to talk about it, they would explain the whole backwards concept better, like how they interact.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
That's why it should have been an episode on its own. But
but Quinn is, regardless of what anybody else says, he's like, you guys do what you want. I'm going to save Daelin. But to quote another famous scientist, Quinn, like, you do realize that if you succeed, you'll be creating a time paradox that will result in a chain reaction that would unravel the very fabric of the space-time continuum and destroy the entire universe, right? I mean, I'm just checking that you should know that, Quinn. So I guess you weren't thinking about that.
I mean, think of like parallel universe. That's his thing. Like, time travel isn't his thing. Like, there's I think it's the asteroid episode back in the first season. He even flat out says he doesn't even think time travel is possible.
Right.
Right.
So he's not thinking fourth dimensionally. Right. He's not thinking of it that way.
Yeah.
He's just Slider's prime directive. They need to sit down on a world, hash one out. Anyway.
At least Quinn's consistent throughout the episode. You've got to give him that.
Yes,
he's got
one
focus. He's sticking to it.
Yeah.
He's only got
win back my high school girlfriend. One of these worlds, she's going to take me back.
He's got one thing on his mind, and that's, or is it on his mind? Whatever. And I you mentioned it later too, Dennis, that whole dialogue Arturo has about the appointment at Samara. That's like pure gold for John Rhys Davies right there. I love that.
I mean,
that's classic. Like, I love
it's
that.
wonderful, and it's so bizarre because, like Devin, you were saying earlier, like, did their doubles on this world, were they the ones who did it? And I've always understood as like no, like somehow running in reverse, somehow they get involved and Daelin is accidentally killed in some way and Quinn is framed for it in some way. Right after they slide onto the world, if you play it backwards. And Arturo doing this monologue, it seems like they're setting up this idea of like, no matter what you're going to do when we get to the end/beginning of this slide, either you're going to try to intervene in her murder and end up looking like you did it, or you're going to accidentally kill yourself trying to stop it.
Right.
So the way that they went with the end of the story is really bizarre.
Yes, because I was confused through the whole time, and then when he had that dialogue about it, and they were going to the murder, I was like, oh, okay, clearly, like you said, something's gonna happen. It's gonna be the whole ironic, time is predetermined, destiny, fate, and then no. Very strange.
And it's so bizarre. Like, I almost want to wonder if, like, the original story, Daelin was going to get killed, and the network gave a note saying, like, you can't kill her for some reason. I don't know, but it was.
Yeah, maybe they thought it was too dark.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how, like, Arturo, he surmises that they will be compelled to slide shortly after the murder is committed. I don't know where he came up with that exactly. Like, how did he estimate?
I thought it was because they knew the time of the murder, because it would have been in the paper, and they knew the hours running down on the timer. So I think they were able to put it together that the slide out would be very shortly after.
It seemed more like an instinctual thing. Like, he's like, well, I guess because it started with them, so I guess he feels like it has to be like right around the murders when we would have gotten involved. I guess that's how he's coming up with that idea that up until then it's like there would have been, there's like no mention of them. I don't know. But Rembrandt's remark about what are we worried about? Daelin's just going to come back to life, and he's like, man, I'm so confused. Like, why?
That's a point.
Yeah,
really funny.
Exactly. Because this is where Remy is speaking for the confused audience, even if I'm the only one on this podcast that is the confused one at this point. But Rembrandt says, I mean, she's going to come back to life anyway. And Quinn says, don't you get it? We're the ones moving backward, not them. Let's go. And then Rembrandt just says, man, I'm so confused.
Yeah, I know.
And that's how I felt. And I still feel that way. Because yes, if time is moving backwards and she's currently dead and soon will not be dead, then what's the problem? What's there to save if she's not going to get shot? Like,
she's still the effect is still that she's dead. It's just they're experiencing it in reverse. It's I mean, I know I get it, but
and this is why Fox aired this one in July.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
They didn't.
It's not a sweeps week pick.
They did not get it. And he does save her, and she says, "You really screwed up." I'm like, "Yeah, you did, Quinn. You screwed up." I do have to say, I kind of liked the score during this whole. Like, there was kind of like a weird, creepy, it was like that, like like whatever it was, like about like the end of the world type stuff. Even though it's the 90s, I kind of liked that visual effect. I thought it was an interesting thing to do, but you have something else to say about that, Mike.
I feel the opposite on that effect. I thought it was extremely cheesy. It's just a freaking hole in the sky showing like some other Earth with its moon speeding around. Like, what the heck is going on here?
All right, but okay, in fairness, Mike, if the world started to come to an end and you looked up at the sky and you saw something, one, either that looked more realistic, or two, it looked like a bad 90s sci-fi effect, what would scare you more? For me, it would be if it
probably
looked
the
like
bad
a bad
90s sci-fi effect. Yes.
That's terrifying.
Oh. Okay, and that's so. Devin, what are you saying about this
Yeah.
concept?
I just, it didn't seem like it was necessary.
Mhm.
It felt like someone in the writer's room had very strong opinions about like making a point of time paradoxes and that there
Mhm.
had to be something that happened.
Mhm.
But then they just resolve it in 30 seconds by
Mhm.
sliding out, which they were going to do anyway.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
why did we have to raise the stakes just to immediately clear them away? It
Mhm.
was that
Mhm.
that felt like such an off note to me.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what you said, Devin. I feel like they just wanted to play around and experiment with something. Like nobody's ever quite done this before. So I mean that, and one thing my interpretation of this ending is I feel like a lot of people either miss it entirely or they're not understanding because Arturo says, "Take us out of the equation. This world may have a chance." So I feel like by them being sucked up into the wormhole, it's sort of negating the paradox as if they were never there to begin with, but they did slide there. So it's still kind of a weird.
See, to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
no, that's a Hail Mary pass, wishful thinking from Arturo. This
Mhm.
world is screwed.
Mhm.
Like it's ripping itself apart
Yeah.
as soon as it comes out. Because
You can't come back from that 90s
Yeah.
graphic. They've already
Yeah.
seen it. Dan.
You've seen it, yes. No takes backsies. No.
But they'll have seen it in
Yeah.
the past now, not the future.
Right.
Now I'm confused. But yeah.
5 minutes, they're gonna forget about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be
That's right.
What's on after Sliders? Let's
Yeah.
Mantis is running right now. That's one.
Mhm. What else we got here? Well, you had a bunch that you mentioned, Dennis. It was where are we?
I think we've covered a lot of it.
Most of it. The reason why I think this world is coming to an end since they introduced that is because they've changed the past, but they are not going to be on this world to undo the paradox. Like there can't be a time ripple that goes forward,
Right.
to play out like what happens if the Sliders save Daelin's life instead. There's no way to fix this paradox
unless they're just taken out of the equation and they're like kind of erased, but which again doesn't make sense.
They had to be there to begin with. She saw them. She interacted with them.
Yeah. So it all played out, but just in reverse. So I'm even confused now. But my bottom line is this world is screwed, and I think even Jerry O'Connell thought this went too far, because my favorite line of this entire episode is when like we see the graphic and like Arturo's like, "You've ripped a hole in the fabric of space time." Jerry O'Connell's like, "Wow."
And I still didn't get the girl. Jesus.
Exactly, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, at least in this world, the Dennis was a good guy.
Yes.
He's Daelin's
At least
fiance
Right.
and partner.
Partner.
Right.
Huge conflict of interest, but okay.
Well, yeah. Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe them, again, to undo the paradox, if they are taken out, then maybe the timeline goes back to the way it was and Daelin does die and everything's restored.
Well, did she die to begin with? That's the whole thing. Did she only die because Quinn got involved?
I mean, I think that's what they were setting up until the last second. And then what?
Well, there was a newspaper report saying she was dead.
Right.
Yeah.
At the hands of Quinn.
Well, he said something about that must be the mistake that I made or something. That he didn't realize that they were trying. He thought it was Dennis that was going to be the one, the killer, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
This was this other guy that they were trying to do the
The handoff.
Yeah,
information
yeah,
exchange
yeah.
with,
The exchange, yeah.
The cop stuff, yeah.
Right.
Who was just some random guy who looked nothing
Random.
like Quinn. Like
Yeah.
there were a lot
No.
of opportunities to clarify how this happened, and they just didn't take any of them.
Right.
Yeah.
They just wanted to put a big hole in the sky.
Yeah, and then they just go to the next world, and Rembrandt's like, well, there's a phone over there. You want to try again? And Quinn is like, I think I'm done. He already pretty much.
Yeah.
They're there for 3 days, 7 hours and 14 minutes.
Can't handle another rejection.
Yeah.
Plenty of time for him to cause
We're at
trouble.
43 minutes on this episode. Yeah, it's time to.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything else. Was there anything else you guys want to add before we get into the goofs? And I think we covered it.
We were pretty thorough.
So, yeah, I think so. Well, Dennis, you had something about you're talking about how they don't seem to acknowledge it at the end, like that he just did this thing, and about the guilt.
Oh, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
they just get to the other world, and there's not anything like,
Mm-hmm.
like, did we save the world by sliding off? Like, what happened there? That was kind of a big deal. Like, no, want to give her a call, give it another shot. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
like I put in the notes, like if I did something that I know I just ended a world,
Mhm.
I don't know how I would deal with that. Maybe I would just like push it down really quickly, like gonna go on, gonna sweep that under the cosmic rug.
Yeah.
I think it does go back to what you were saying, Dennis. Like, they need a prime directive, and they definitely don't have anything like that at this point in the series. They're just very much like, each world is a new day.
Yes, and it's our playground
Yes.
to mess
Yes.
up.
Yeah, let's get involved and mess up things that have
Yeah.
been in place for decades, and like, oh, who cares? Let's just.
Season 1, they were always saying, not get involved, we're not getting involved, and then there'd be some motivation for them to get involved. The Season 2 seems to be like, yeah, let's just get involved.
Yeah, true. Why not?
Yeah.
We're only here for 14 hours,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's like Atlantic City. Just-
And then season 3 is like, who cares? The world doesn't even make sense. Let's just have at it.
I mean, maybe if you were just sliding dimension to dimension for who knows how long at this point, you probably would eventually get a bit
For sure.
numb to it.
Let's cause some chaos. Let's just
What mood are we in today?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we found some goofs. We said it before. That was your first one, Devin, right? You said that about
Yep.
yeah.
The Vancouver ice and cold storage.
Yeah, that was that. Who had the next one about the
Oh, me, like it's not a goof, but just the entire sequence of when the when the wormhole opens up, when they're leaving Nueva España, like kid has been shot, and then everybody's just standing around in slow motion, like looking at the wormhole. The guys on the ground dying. Quinn is shouting, hey, come with me. And it's just like everything is in slow motion. Like you cannot tell me that the immigration officers will not just start opening fire.
Yeah.
It's just,
Mhm. Right.
and then they get to the other world, and I think Rembrandt actually has a line like, "Hey, what happened back there? Like you were there. You didn't slack off early. You were sitting there watching the entire thing."
I think he meant like, what was up with that? Why were you begging this random person to come along? Because they were all separated,
yeah.
right? Like
Sure,
they didn't
maybe.
see the whole Daelin thing. That was just when they met back up with him.
Yeah.
Sure, but the way it came across, it wasn't just like, "Whew, that was a big deal." Like what happened there? It was like that was kind of an awkward exchange.
It was random.
Yeah, yeah, that was it.
All right. And you got some, Mike.
Well, still in Nuevo España, when Quinn is looking to rescue the others from immigration, he says he needs to get to them before 10:23. That's their sliding time, right? But when Rembrandt and the others are being escorted to the bus, he says it's 5 a.m. that they've woken them up at. And then Wade says they have less than 2 hours until the slide. It's obviously pitch black out. So there's some discontinuity here with the with the time. This is a small one, but interesting. The nameplate on the judge's desk says Judge J. Estevez both times he appears, including in Nuevo España. So, but there is a Spanish title for judge, i.e. Juez. So you would expect that in the Spanish courtroom to have that, perhaps. But in what was it, timey-wimey world, the bailiff announces him as Judge Ramon Estevez, but his initial is J. Estevez. So he's Judge J. Estevez, but you introduce him as Ramon. So I don't know. I just the prop that they had for both scenes didn't work in either of them. That's it. That's the goof.
And also, I can't remember if this was on Earth Prime or IMDb, but Ramon Estevez just happens to be Martin Sheen's actual birth name.
Yeah, I had that up here, right, on earthprime.com.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, funny.
That's got to be an Easter egg then.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't put them in the notes either, but I saw some other things. I didn't think about that. There's like when they're in the jail and Quinn says he took it apart, put it back together again. Where would he find the tools to undertake such a dissection with the timer?
Good point.
Yeah, that's his goof. I see that. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think about that.
So here's a question. This is like a really minutiae thing because of the weird way they slid onto that world. Did they manage to hang on to the timer for the entirety of their arraignment, their trial, and conviction? Or did the timer just magically pop in with them when they arrive?
That's what they also say here. They still have the timer. It's unlikely that the processing guards at the prison would have let them keep such an item. So that's another.
But when they pop in, they're already processed. So it seems like it just poofs in with them.
It's like Sam and Al switching places, and somehow Al has a hand link when he shouldn't have one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's a weird timey-wimey thing.
Yeah.
All right. Memorable lines. Yeah, you already said, Devin.
You cannot escape, estúpidos.
Who had the "I remember you"?
Oh, I think like when Kit and Quinn first meet, like Quinn actually says, like, I think, like, I remember you, and like, no, you haven't met earlier in the episode. It was like a weird, like, obvious, like, inside joke.
Well, from Earth Prime, he would have known.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you knew her. Maybe
Yeah.
That's what he means. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's fair. I'm still calling it cheating. Anyway, I stand
Again, Quinn being oblivious that, like, hey, all these people don't know what you know.
Yeah.
Like, why are you?
And now it's just weird. Daelin was romantically interested with the guy that kind of looks like her brother.
Well, I think there's something to what you said, Dennis, that it's maybe a not subtle hat tip to the fact that they really are brothers.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it. Like we said, the whole appointment in Samara monologue, I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but I wrote it in the notes.
That was a good one, though.
But it's really good. The whole thing,
very good.
Whole change. And the way Arturo says, you changed the future, you ripped a hole in the fabric of time, God knows what the consequences will be. And, we said that with the wow. The deadpan. And we said it before about the,
I want to go through the whole thing. So Wade says, I want to go home, Rembrandt. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in Canada, which immediately made me think of the Sloan song, The Rest of My Life, where they say, I know I'll be spending the rest of it in Canada. And it's just, the lyrics are there and it's in my head.
Yeah.
So cue up that song sometime. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then Rembrandt he says,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dennis.
No, And to point out on earthprime.com, this was Sabrina Lloyd's last episode in Canada.
Oh, it was?
Because in season 3 they moved production to well, it's the last air date episode, but in season 3 they moved production to LA.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's okay. No, it's all right. And then Rembrandt's response, of course, you think I do? It's wet. It's cold. My records didn't sell spit up there. All they ever listened to is Anne Murray and Gordon Lightfoot. I had to pause it and laugh both times because
I know. I just laughed.
It's a hilarious stereotype. I love it.
All right. All right. So I guess our final thoughts on our ratings. I have the highest one, but I might lower it a little bit. So I guess I don't know. Well, Dennis, I guess if you want to go first, and then Devin, and I guess
sure.
We'll do. Yeah.
I give it 6.5 appointments in Samara out of 10.
Okay.
I had a similar rating. I liked it a little more. I gave it 7 insulted Canadians out of 10.
Well, Dennis and I were on the same wavelength. I gave it 6.5 reverse clocks out of 10. A pretty sad way to end the season in air date order. But now that I see it was in July, I understand.
Held off, yeah. You know what? I mean, all the points that came up. I think I will lower it a little bit. I'm gonna say 7.
You can like things, Damon. It's okay.
I like
yes,
it, but
you're allowed.
No, I know, but like after I'm seeing it, I'm like, I'll just lower it just a little because there could have been some better stuff. It's a lot of things that came up that I had issues with. So I'll say 7.5 homies out of 10. All right. So I guess that's it. Thank you, Dennis, for joining us again. Hope you
as always, thank you.
Do it again for season 3 if you want to do it again for season 3. If there's anything coming up.
Sure.
We might not have as many people that want to do things for season 3. I'm just thinking aloud now. I don't know.
Actually, I was just thinking about it earlier today. Actually, when it was first airing, I actually enjoyed season 3 quite a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
It was only in hindsight. Well, okay. Towards the end of season 3, it got weird, but it's only in hindsight. Like when you really look at the whole thing, it's like, oh yeah, yeah. But yeah,
it's hard. We can't judge things from the 90s by today's standards, right? Like we do have to give a little bit. It's okay that we enjoyed them when they were on because they were new and exciting and interesting when they were on. It was before the golden age of television and streaming and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Devin, for you for coming too. I was like, yeah, me and my sister chilling out again, talking about something we loved.
Yeah, this was fun. I was looking forward to it. Yeah. I really enjoyed rewatching. Like I said, I did like this episode. I mean, 7 out of 10 is a good rating, but despite its problems, I think there was a lot. There was a there. I would have liked to see them explore the there a little more, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it was great to have you.
Anytime. Yeah. Devin, do you want to tell people how they can find you, or would you rather just,
I cannot be found. Unless you want to watch a bunch of bouldering videos on Instagram. Feel free to follow Dev Unfiltered.
Okay.
But you consider yourself warned. It is primarily a climbing account.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay, Dennis, you want to remind everybody?
Sure. On this, at Dad of the Future or Dad of the Future Pod, depending on which platform, or just dadofthefuture.com, and then you'll get all my links there.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we are going to be talking about Jillian of the Spirits. We will definitely be joined by first-time Dave Corman from the Corman Productions Deep Dive TV podcast. This is one he wanted to do.
All right, cool.
So he's going to be joining us for that one. You want to take us out, Mike, with all of our stuff?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for watching, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe our videos. Share your opinions in the comments section. We will do a roundup in something in the future, either within one of our regular reviews or a standalone. We'll see. You can find all of our Sliders content to date on our website, fandomentanglement.com. If you want to drop us an email, it's fandom.entanglement@gmail.com. We have a conversation page on Facebook at facebook.com/fandomentanglement, and we're on Blue Sky, so fandomentanglement.bsky.social. Follow us, we'll follow you, and we'll get some convos going there too.
Yep. All right. So until next time, guys, I'm Damon.
And I'm Mike.
I'm Dennis.
And I'm Devin.
And we'll see you next time. Bye. Keep on sliding.
Keep on sliding.